Hola, my name is Tania Lopez. I'm a Latina mom and chef from the Bronx, New York.
Hola, and I'm her son, Miguel Xavier Diaz Lopez. I'm a mechanical engineer working with NASA and studying for a Ph.D. at Johns Hopkins University.
We love to share stories about
Latinos getting shit done.
Hola, amigos. Thank you for joining us. Today's episode is a short introduction about us. My name is Tania Lopez, and I'm a New Yorican. What does that mean? It means I have Puerto Rican roots, but raised in New York. I'm a mom of 2 beautiful adults, a chef, and an entrepreneur. Now, Miguel, tell us a little bit about you.
So what's up? I'm
What's
Miguel
up?
Diaz Lopez. So my second last name coincides with my mom, so I'm her son. I guess I'm also a New Yorican. I was born in Puerto Rico, but I was mostly raised in New York since I was like 5. I'm not the mom of 2 beautiful kids, but I'm one of the beautiful kids, I guess. And I'm a musician. But right now I'm mostly a mechanical engineer. I'm getting a PhD at Johns Hopkins University in mechanical engineering. And a lot of my projects are working with NASA, so hence the picture in the cover with me as an astronaut and my mom as the chef.
That's right. And our logo and our banner really says it all. It says how we are so connected to food, to space, to time, and how cool it really is to have all those 2 combinations. So, Miguel, what was that crazy idea? I know it was my crazy idea to start off with the podcast, but you wanted to join in. I'm curious exactly why.
Well, I mean, I didn't want it to be a train wreck. I'm just kidding.
Not cool.
I mean, I mostly wanted to join because I wanted to meet really cool people, like really cool Hispanics that did cool things. And it is a great way for not just for us to show the world these people, but also so that we can meet them. We can meet these cool people.
Yeah, and I am so really curious and want to know more about our guests too. We're definitely thinking about being celebrity guests and or just everyday people who have struggles and life challenges growing up in the US. And as a Latino, as a Hispanic, we all have our challenges. We all went through something. My parents migrated in the 70s, and it was a really tough time for them where they had to actually find jobs which paid very little. Because I remember my dad saying he was getting paid $1 something an hour. For right now, that would be ridiculous for us. But at that time, it was kind of a lot of money, definitely more than what he was getting in Puerto Rico. So starting a new life, finding friends and a community that accepted the Latinos and Hispanics, that was pretty hard in the 70s, but they made it happen because I'm sure they had a lot of fun too. And of course, they made beautiful me. So they definitely had a lot of fun.
Wow.
So, what else can we actually add on to this podcast a little bit about us? I talked about me now. Do you have any questions about me that I
Yeah,
should
what's
say?
your relationship with food?
Oh, I grew up with a love and hate relationship with food. I actually was a very picky eater when I was little. My grandma had a hard time feeding me, and I always made her buy things that I thought I would like, but definitely did not like, just to make her happy. And I think that was kind of mean. But there were times when I would just eat what she did, and my favorite was ensalada de bacalao. I definitely loved that a lot. And even though I know codfish is not the greatest fish there is, but she made an amazing codfish salad. And I guess seeing her, how she worked with food and how she loved food and how everything was so organic really made me love food. Yeah. And then I always felt like I had to be, that I was drawn to it.
So what's the hate side of it then?
The hate side was I didn't like cooking. I mean, And the only thing I knew was Puerto Rican dishes because everybody around me was basically Puerto Rican or Hispanic and frying this, doing that, overcooking this and that. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to like cook all this. But I didn't know because growing up, and not really growing up, I mean, when I lived in Puerto Rico, we didn't have internet and stuff like that. So there really wasn't any cooking shows either. So I had to really just figure things out or ask people, my neighbors and stuff. And all my neighbors knew how to do is just fry stuff. And, and for me, it was like, there gotta be a better way. But I just didn't like it because that was the only cuisine I knew until I learned other cuisines. And that's when I actually fell in love with food again. And what about you? What's your love with food? Because I know you love food. You make
Yeah, but
ramen
I
from
mean,
scratch.
it didn't really like start out like that. So because I also had like a love-hate relationship with food, but for me it was mostly because we didn't have that much like a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for food for me it was like money, like money that we had to waste. So
And I mean,
for
not really.
well no, at that time, I mean at that time when you have like nothing, it felt more like waste. So because of that.
So we couldn't really give ourselves the luxury of having a little more. So more, we just had to eat the basic everyday kind of cheap food because we definitely didn't have much. And as a single mom raising two kids, it was kind of like very challenging.
Yeah, so because of that, um, most of it was like on the hate side, and also I was overweight, so that didn't help. Uh,
Yeah. And it's crazy though because you weren't overweight because of the like amazing food we were eating. You were overweight because of the processed food that we could only afford, and which
yeah,
is really
exactly.
sad.
Because
And
it's strange because it's like when you would think that if you're overweight, it's because you have like an abundance of food, but really
mhm.
that's not true. Especially when you're like in the Bronx where the food is so like terrible. It's just it has like a very high fat content and a lot of sodium too, mostly just to because it's cheap. Like they're trying to make these cheap foods taste as good as possible, so that people keep on buying them and get addicted to them. It's the organic foods that really where you can eat more and not have to like get fat from it, basically. So it's not like how it used to be, where people who were the fat ones were the rich ones. Now it's kind of like the people who have little access to things end up getting like not aren't as healthy just because they don't have access to healthy foods. So that's like mostly the main thing for me. Because when we started, we were in that position, and also we come from the Bronx, which is like a food desert. So even if we did have the money, we lived in the Bronx, so it's still difficult to find good food. But so mostly that was how it was for a while. Um, but then eventually I started losing a lot of weight, and then but even after that, even after losing weight, it was still kind of like the money portion of things, until eventually I kind of like got out of that because I ended up going to the summer camp where I could eat as much as I wanted, and I didn't have to pay for anything. And the chef at that summer camp was from a chef from the Miami Heat, so he was a very good chef, and so he kind of like really showed me a lot of different foods, and I didn't have to pay for any of it, so I was more than happy to eat as much as possible. And I think that really fixed my relationship with food. And then after that, now I'm really into it, and I mean my mom has her own company and everything, so I got really into food with her as well. And now that I live by myself, now that I'm in a PhD program, I'm getting like very into cooking. Which before I wasn't really that into cooking because I was kind of afraid that I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Which I mean, it's still true, but at least I'm kind of figuring things out now.
Yeah, I think it's a journey for both of us to really like get out of the mindset of lack of and to the mindset of more than. So more than rice and beans, I guess, in a way, it really connects with us, because not only did we have a mindset that really told us that we couldn't eat all types of food, or because we couldn't afford it, or things like that, but now um, food can actually be um it's not expensive if you really look for something but it took us a while to figure that out. But if you really look for other places where there can be all types of food, and if it's like authentic kind of food, you know for sure you're getting everything you need. You're not spending a lot of money. You just have to like how can I say it, just research. I mean, like, figure it out, right? I'm sure that they can have that product cheaper somewhere else or something like that, but don't give up. Don't just say, okay, no, I can't find it anywhere else, let me just buy
Yes,
it here.
sometimes you just have to be willing to be able to go outside of just your immediate area, right? Because I mean, if you live in the Bronx, again, even if you had the money, you're not going to be able to find good food. And like some people would probably think it's not worth spending the money to like go somewhere else, but I mean, it definitely is. Like it's because the amount of money that you're spending at that moment to get better food is going to save you in the long run, because you're not going to be dealing with all of these health issues.
Right. So it's either pay a lot for prescriptions and medications, or pay a little more for good food, which is actually can be your pharmacy. So pharmacy with
Yeah.
F.
And like I understand that in the short term it doesn't seem like that's what's happening, right? Because in the short term you're just like looking at your bank account and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm spending so much money. But you can't always think about the short term. You have to think about long term health risks that are going to occur. You don't want to end up in a bad position just because you didn't eat well when you were younger. So
Right. Right. So we really we're really really happy that you're here with us, and you got to meet us a little bit throughout the other episodes. You're definitely going to get to know us a little bit more. We're going to talk about plenty of things, maybe just random stuff at the same time too, make it more like a conversation. If you have any questions, please let us know. Our email is podcast@kokithechef.com. Again, it's podcast@kokithechef.com. Write to us, let us know, or you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at More Than Rice and Beans. Please drop us a question. If it's private, email it to us. Don't be afraid. We don't bite. We definitely can give some really cool tips. Miguel can give you a couple of cool tips on math and physics and aerospace, and maybe a little bit about Mars too. And he hasn't cooked in Mars yet because nobody's there at the moment. But when he starts cooking there, I'm sure he's going to share that with you too. All right, cool. So, Miguel, you want to say goodbye to the next
bye.
All
To
right.
the next one and beyond.
Yay!